Well, maybe just for the intro. Okay, everyone, welcome into Concordia University's fourth space, and thank you for joining us. For today's event, special video screening of Navigating Turbulence, community workers, older adults, and policy makers on surviving the pandemic. And just to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube, we are live from fourth space, and we are located on unceded Indigenous lands in Sawchuk, Montreal. We are running this as a live stream Zoom meeting also, so any comments or questions are welcome there in the chat. Those of you in the space, just sit back and watch. The film is about 45 minutes. I'm going to pass it over now to part of the Navigating Turbulence team, Christina, Haralanova. Welcome in.
Today we are screening some audio capsules from a research project that we did in 2021, 2022, related to the role of not-for-profit organizations, older adults, experience of older adults, and policy government officials during the pandemic and a little bit after the beginning of the pandemic. So it was a pure research project. We did a lot of interviews, over 50 interviews with different community organizations. We talked to individuals, we talked to the government, to the municipality, a lot of paperwork, which actually turned out to be also a creative project, a creation project, since we decided to, instead of interpretation of the words of all these people, we decided to bring the words to you. So today, you're gonna see just part of these audio capsules. We call them audio capsules. They're about 10, 12, 15 minutes of the real voices of the people that we talk to. They're very emotional, sometimes perturbating, and you're gonna see it for yourself. Just that they're much more effective than the papers we're gonna be writing or presentations we're gonna be doing. We're having a big team. About 8 people. A lot of it is written in the beginning and at the end of the video, so you're gonna see this. Here it is. We've created 6 capsules, I think, and you're gonna see 3 of them, but there will be the others will be available later to see. There are more thematics. Some of them are talking about how it started, the crisis. Some of them are the voices of the not-for-profit organizations who had to be on the front line of the pandemic with older adults. Some of them are the older adults talking, and we have other capsules that are not covered here about how people went on Zoom, for example, and how mental health was important as much as physical and other type of health. So I'm gonna stop here, and I'm just gonna let you enjoy the capsules. Open your ears because it's mostly audio rather than video. And yeah, enjoy the screening and have coffee.
it was the chaos that everyone had to go through. But we were, our model was like that of many organizations. It was very adaptive, so we were able to pivot. And it was really awful. I'm not going to pretend that was not the hardest thing I, had to do in my 30 years, but we survived, and it was very difficult.
Everything felt like a challenge, but I don't know, like, I think it was constantly adapting everything, and there was really no, like, that's how life was for everyone. The regulations kept changing, and so we had to adapt all the programming and then communicate that to the volunteers that we work with, and then get feedback on how that was going. And by the time you felt like you had a grasp of that, then the regulations changed again.
I hadn't, we don't sit down very often and like go through the timeline of, well, then we did that, and then we did that, and we started this program, then we had to change this, and then like, when you look at the last 2 years in that way, you're like, oh, I wonder I feel this way. Oh, it all makes sense.
We all were in the same boat at the same time, and I think everybody acted as fast as they could and learned as we went. So yeah, the challenges were many.
It's also challenging the implementation of new restrictions, and then lifting, and then implementing new restrictions, and then lifting them again for generation services. Because September last summer we started to resume in-home visits. Then September we reopened the activities, and then December everything closed again, back online. Was a little bit disappointing.
They said, okay, well, we can offer these activities on a limited scale. And at that time, we were struggling with the spacing issues, because there was a time where everybody had to be like 2 meters from another person. So your activity that normally could have, 200 people, you're down to 50. You don't have the space. So physical space was an issue. It was restart activities that you have to cancel. Then you're dealing with the cancellation, then, creating new activities. But this time the activities, you have to rethink about how you're going to design all your spacing, because you have social distancing that you have to do. People have to wear masks. So I could see that for the community agencies, there was a lot of work adapting, because we lived through it, adapting our own activities here for the population. And I would say that it was only in September of 2021 that then we started to be able to open up.
So when the restrictions have been lifted, we've been allowing indoor meetings, right? But these indoor meetings were reduced from, before the pandemic, were 2.5 hours, and they passed to first 45 minutes. And then once the vaccine were implemented and the lift of the restrictions after the vaccine, we allowed in 1 hour, but we not allowing more 2.5 hours, because of the time exposure to the virus is higher.
Before the pandemic, we were doing 3 days a week of in-house lunch and 3 days a week of Meals on Wheels. So, but with the pandemic, it was very difficult for the programming side, because we had to do extra, like sterilizing everything. So like spraying, there was all this extra work that didn't exist before on the same level. Cleaning, and also, really people managing, like trying to keep everybody distanced, making sure everyone's wearing their masks, making sure everyone's sanitizing. For the lunch, it was really complicated tried to make sure that everyone was sitting where they were supposed to sit, and people would show, we had them booking in advance, so we would know, like, okay, there's going to be 18 people or something, and that's something we never did before, and our membership was really like, they just couldn't get the hang of it. That, so often, and I would never turn anyone away to eat, ever. So, you know, we'd think 18 people are coming or something, and then like 25 people would show up. And so it was like, that was a really, for the staff, it was like a lot to manage, to set the tables and all that stuff. It was really chaotic. So to close all that down, to close all that down in December was really like pretty devastating to us, that have got, because it took a long, you know, we were like rebuilding our volunteer base, rebuilding sort of our rhythm, getting the word out that we were open again, and then we had to close all that down.
Ben, c'est sûr que pour le personnel, j'en ai parlé un tout petit peu déjà là. Moi et mes collègues, bon, on a pris le pli virtuel, mais ça a surtout été, ça n'a pas été vraiment un enjeu en soi, mais ce qui a été un enjeu, c'est le fait de tout déprogrammer et reprogrammer, qui a été un petit peu compliqué. Et la crainte de recevoir des gens chez soi, là, on a tous eu plus ou moins cette crainte-là à un moment donné. Ça dépend de notre exposition et nos facteurs de risque. Mais oui, même les réunions à domicile, pendant un moment, c'était potentiellement dangereux.
I think the community sort of respond. I think the community helped support people through the isolation and being aware of and creative. You know, I know New Hope did a visiting program where they bought folding chairs for outside. So if you went somewhere, you could, you know, it wasn't a problem that you know where to sit. We had our chairs. And that was creative. You know, it was smart. So I think the community really responded in a creative way by helping and by knowing who their clients were, or the population they serve is, and what their needs are, and how to try and respond to that.
So we adapted the programs feels so long ago now, at the beginning, by removing in-home visits. They just seemed too high risk, and switched a lot of it to phone calls. And so I think before we were doing about less than a dozen calls, and then it ballooned up to 100, so half of our membership were getting calls from us. And they were meant to be a check-in call, and then the calls got really long.
La première, c'est sûr. Toutes les autres ont eu un impact plutôt minime, j'ai l'impression, puisqu'on était déjà adaptés. Donc c'est juste, oui, il y a eu parfois quand il y avait une nouvelle vague, bah, du coup il y avait tel événement présentiel qu'on devait annuler. Mais plus ça va, plus on était habitués, et plus chaque nouvelle vague devenait un petit peu soit une routine, soit quelque chose d'attendu de toute façon. Donc ça fait plus de 2 ans et demi là qu'on n'a pas misé vraiment sur un format 100% présentiel. On n'est pas parti à dire tiens, on va faire un congrès sur le sujet qui nous habite. Donc non, l'impact des vagues très minime là, c'est surtout la première qui nous a forcé à faire un tournant. Mais une fois que le tournant était pris, ça n'a pas été significatif, les autres vagues.
I mean, it gave us lots of opportunities. The grocery program was a wonderful collaboration between ACT and us and the CLSC. That was a really great relationship to have begun. That's how I met Andrea, who's doing the garden. So that's a really exciting thing for us, and something that we had been sort of stewing in our minds that we wanted to move towards, you know, a direction that was kind of missing for us. You know, Saint-Tropez de Rouen, for example, they have more of a sustainable mandate in terms of, and we kind of wanted to move in that direction as well. So yeah, so that's very exciting. That would not have happened if COVID hadn't occurred. Yeah, so that's, you know, it was an opportunity to sort of change the way that we work and how we think about the organization and how we service people as well. asking our members and our clients to be more flexible with us, also understanding that, we're only 5 staff, and we're trying our very best. We don't have 100 people at our disposal anymore to solve the problems. We were really on a good track before December, so it's very disappointing to us now that we kind of lost that volunteer base, that we're like re-beginning again. It just is what it is.
Before pandemic, we worked to break isolation. That's the whole idea, was because senior Anglophone gay people might not have access to, or might not be comfortable enough in French to participate in social events. So they might find themselves isolated, and we decided to start the group for that reason. So our activities were based on breaking isolation.
Before the pandemic, our priority was to go and get people and take them out of their homes. So bring them to our organization for programming, bring them to medical appointments.
On avait beaucoup d'aînés qui nous appelaient 3 fois par semaine juste pour nous dire qu'ils avaient été chez le médecin et que ça avait bien été, t'sais. Puis ça nous faisait bien plaisir de répondre puis de prendre 10-15 minutes pour jaser. Mais là, on faisait vraiment plus ça. Puis je pense qu'au niveau de l'isolement, c'est que dans le fond, ces personnes-là n'avaient pas un besoin concret de quelque chose.
But I don't think we realized just like how, especially through the pandemic, like how serious maybe some of the discussions were. Like we call it a friendly visit, and many times it is just a chat and they have tea. But other times, like these seniors learn to trust this individual and really become friends with them, and then maybe open up in a different way. And so I think we realize that as an organization, we're sort of a first line of communication in the mental health network, that we say it's, a friendly visit, a check-in call, but through these relationships, we are learning things that our members, they're opening up and sharing, and we're able to refer them to other services.
Vous voyez, on a vu la détresse beaucoup, la solitude, mais on a vu aussi comment, jusqu'à quel point les aînés pouvaient être seuls, particulièrement à Montréal, ou dans le quartier où je joue, il y a beaucoup de femmes seules, où les enfants sont à l'extérieur, il n'y avait pas accès. Fait que il a fallu donc être présent, puis un peu recréer, en guillemets, une famille ou une écoute pour pouvoir être là pour leur détresse. Et c'est ce défi-là de répondre toujours à la détresse pour bien les préparer à justement plus la vivre, cette détresse-là. Mais c'est ça le défi.
C'est sûr que le fait d'avoir eu le support psychosocial, ça a été un élément qui a été très aidant. Parce que du jour au lendemain, les gens confinés chez eux, c'était pas drôle, puis il y en avait beaucoup qui vivaient de la détresse majeure. Là. Alors, c'était très, très, déroutant de constater la détresse importante que vivaient les aînés.
On voulait qu'ils sentent là, que malgré tout, il y avait un lien là, qui restait là, même si leurs habitudes ont été complètement bouleversées. Donc, ça a été dans les premiers mois, c'est ce qui était le plus important. Après, là, je dirais que là, c'était les enjeux alimentaires.
On le ressentait puis on se le faisait dire. C'est comme, ils se sentaient dans une position, la situation, on les a tous mis dans une situation vulnérable sans qu'ils le soient vraiment par les messages qui étaient envoyés, c'était des messages de prévention et tout ça, mais quand même, ça les a mis dans une espèce de carcan là, de vulnérabilité sans qu'elles ou qu'ils le soient nécessairement. Fait que ça les a isolés des fois contre leur gré.
And it was very difficult because many people quickly went into despair. There were people who coped, but then other people went into severe despair and became suicidal. And my team had to deal with this on a regular basis. And, you know, it's not something that we do every day. It was kind of like the way, you know, the nurses and doctors had to deal with all of this death, much more, you know, higher levels of mortality in their work. Well, for us, we had much higher levels of people saying, you know, I just want to die. I want to die. I'm thinking of killing myself. And I just, you know, I can't go through this. I'm not going to make it, you know?
You know, so many people in Côte Saint-Luc are living alone and their children are out of town, right? It might be in Toronto or somewhere else. So they didn't have that support. So we had to be the support.
Même ceux qui étaient en RPA et en résidence privée ont vécu cette détresse-là parce qu'ils ne pouvaient pas sortir. On n'y avait pas. Ils se sentaient vraiment... Ils se sont sentis rejetés de la communauté, de la société en général.
Il y a vraiment des personnes dans ces groupes-là qui ont pas sorti ou presque pendant des mois. Là. Fait que c'est sûr qu'on peut pas passer à côté de briser l'isolement. C'était vraiment la priorité numéro 1.
Ça peut avoir l'air un peu étrange, mais quand tout est fermé, quand on est isolé, puis justement dans le confinement, ben, la télévision, c'est comme leur seul divertissement. Donc là, ça faut que ça marche, là. C'est que l'isolement amène à beaucoup d'autres besoins. Le fait d'être seul ou d'être isolé, ça peut amener à des demandes tellement diverses comme la personne voudrait, je sais pas, changer la lumière dans son salon, mais elle n'a personne pour l'aider. Donc, les gens peuvent nous arriver avec des demandes comme ça. Ça peut être justement de contacter le CLSC, ça peut être les aider au niveau technologique, la TV fonctionne plus. L'isolement amène à des demandes tellement diverses, des petites choses qu'on ne penserait pas du quotidien que quand ils n'ont plus la capacité, ils n'ont plus la force physique de faire toutes ces petites choses-là, que là, ça devient plus difficile de faire, puis qu'ils ne savent pas, en fait, à qui demander, parce que, mettons, changer ta lumière, on ne penserait pas aller demander au CLSC pour venir nous aider à changer une lumière. Donc, c'est tellement des petites choses comme ça.
Les aînés ont perdu l'habitude de sortir de chez eux. Hein. Ils ont été cloués chez eux pendant tellement de temps qu'il y a une crainte qui s'installe. La mobilisation sociale elle a beaucoup baissé. L'isolement a créé des impacts dans le rapport à la vie, mettons, qui a changé beaucoup de choses.
I guess it just highlighted isolation and then being gay and isolated. Because I think when you add that other optic, reaching for help is a different kind of thing. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed, pandemic or not.
If you were homebound before, maybe, yes, your family could visit less, which would be really, really hard. And services were interrupted. But they were affected in a different way. And I think that a lot of people maybe don't realize that about some of our seniors.
Ce qu'on a pu faire quand même, c'est qu'on a mis en place un groupe Facebook parce qu'on a quand même identifié un enjeu d'isolement supplémentaire en fait. Les personnes aînées en résidence, elles ont été confinées de force et en plus, pour le 10% d'entre elles qui sont LGBT, elles sont un petit peu confinées mentalement puisqu'elles sont contraintes de retourner dans le placard parce que les milieux ne sont pas perçus comme assez sécuritaires dans la grande majorité des cas du moins. Donc, il y avait un peu un effet de double confinement là pour les personnes aînées LGBT, d'où la nécessité de pouvoir tout de même participer à des réunions en ligne, ou suivre des groupes Facebook, ou savoir qu'il y a quand même une communauté virtuelle qui existe.
I don't think this is the majority of the opinion, but with some of our guys, I'm thinking of two in particular anyway, they never go out anyway. So they were like, this is like, nothing's changed for me. This is just sort of, you know, maybe I can't go to the pharmacy as much as I'd like to.
Par exemple, à Granby, on a fait plusieurs régions là, avec leurs ressources pour essayer d'aider les aînés à briser cet isolement-là que je pense que tout le monde pense à déconfinement, plus de masques, pandémie terminée. Bon, tout est beau, mais en fait, on dirait qu'il demeure une espèce de confinement dans notre tête.
On se dit toujours, on ne veut plus que ça se reproduise, mais c'est comme ça la planète, on ne veut plus que bien des choses se reproduisent, mais elles se reproduisent. Donc, il faut juste mieux se préparer pour ça, là, t'sais.
Je suis quelqu'un qui est au naturel assez solitaire. Tu sais, je peux passer des journées tout seul, puis je m'ennuie pas. Là, tu sais, je peux me distraire pas mal. Mais là, on dirait que le fait s'est imposé, puis tout ça, tu sais, le manque de contact, ça, je l'ai trouvé intense.
And I know some of my friends who are a little bit older than I am, and they had a much more difficult time. I think I was used to living alone for a long time, so that my being solitary was not as much of an obstacle as people who are a lot more social. Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like I, have lots of friends and do things, but I'm still alone, and I'm grateful for that because I've made peace with it. So when I was able to go to the library or download books from the library, all of these things were support.
Well, I'll say that the Gay and Grey group definitely, and church, made a point of keeping in touch, especially with the seniors. That everyone was in bubbles, so the young families were all in bubbles, and because the kids are going to school, they're going to daycare, whatever, seniors can't go near them, and so the seniors were, at least initially, those who were in residences, like they have apartments but meal service, were having their meals delivered on a tray placed outside their door. They were not allowed to leave their apartments. So, some eventually sort of bubbled with a friend, especially if they were on their own, and might get together for coffee, whether the building liked it or not. So, the seniors organization within the church kept contact with them, and whether by phone or on Zoom or whatever, so that because they couldn't go out. Mm-hmm. And we did the same with the Gay and Grey crowd.
All of a sudden you had seniors that were able to go out before. And now they were told to, especially over 60, you're not supposed to go anywhere. I never respected that. Like what? When we had lockdown, that was different. I mean, we had to respect it. But don't tell me I can't go out and do my own shopping. If I'm taking precautions and everything, and have my 4 vaccines, and just don't tell me that.
J'ai eu des conflits avec mes voisines. Ça a été un peu intense, là. Ils envoyaient la police chez nous parce qu'on était 3 sur la terrasse. 3 mémés qui vaccinés 3 fois. Puis, à quel moment ça? Ça, c'est l'été 2021, okay. Au mois de mai. On fêtait mon anniversaire puis celui d'une des personnes. Puis là, on n'avait pas le droit d'être plus que 2, parce que quand tu habites seul, tu avais le droit de recevoir une personne, idéalement toujours la même. Et là on était 3, dehors, à 2 mètres de distance. Ça m'a vraiment mis à tabarouette.
Because again, I was out in the world and she was isolated and older and not entirely well. Mm-hmm. So, there are risks that one did not want to take. And now she's bedridden. So the CLSC people come in morning and evening. Mm-hmm. So they deal with her physical needs and give her something to eat a couple of times a day, leave some stuff on a bedside table for her lunch. And I still do the shopping and pick up her prescriptions and deal with the pharmacy and so on and so forth. So again, I go in and I talk to her, but I don't get too close because there's a risk.
But there are a lot of elderly people. There's even a couple of elderly people in my building that, and the building across from mine, they're in their 90s. They need the connection. They need the support. They're not going anywhere.
Ben, en fait, la première vague, de faire une bulle avec une nouvelle fille, ça avait beaucoup enlevé d'anxiété. Je pense que après ça, ça m'en a donné beaucoup de me retrouver tout seul, puis tout ça, tu sais. Puis physiquement, je le sentais physiquement, tu sais, une oppression, puis tout ça.
I've been cooped up for a while, and I'd like to be active again. I like to participate again and do things again and be with people. I love to be with people and yeah, I'm still limited with certain things, but that doesn't mean that I can't use my brains.
Mais je pense que personne n'était prêt à aller jusqu'à 2 ans. Là, c'est là qu'à un moment donné, tu as beau puiser les ressources, mais le réservoir, chacun a ses limites de réservoir. Puis je pense qu'on pouvait... C'était contre-intuitif pour moi, quand on se sent menacé, de s'isoler. C'est comme si là... on a plus tendance à se regrouper puis à se rassurer, puis là, il fallait faire l'inverse. C'était contre nature. Je suis très, très vulnérable à ce moment-là. Je dirais que ça correspond à un creux, on va dire.
I'm talking government here, and we all look and are scared and terrified of senior residences and everything else, and we see the government doing nothing. So, like I said, I think the physical and especially the psychological aspect of seniors during the pandemic must have doubled, if not more. Of people feeling lonely, people feeling sad, depression. Some people may drink, I don't know. Apparently, alcohol consumption went up, 25% during the pandemic?
It highlighted the isolation factor.
All these organizations that I had to deal with so far, I was fortunate enough to deal with. I think they're fantastic. They're very, very, very important for a lot of seniors, for a lot of people who are restricted.
anyone has any questions, either on Zoom, also within the space, just raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. If you don't, that's okay. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the screening of Navigating Turbulence. We'll be closing up the... we're going to leave the Zoom open, actually, if you're joining us there, but we'll be closing up the live stream, and just thank you for joining us, and stick around for the panel